pretty much the same cells as Panasonic?
Yes, but pretty much is not the same as same. So there's still a few bugs to work out with the LG Chem cells before we can use them in our module and battery pack production system. The CATL cells, or the CATL situation will be more of an integrated module than it will be a cell, and that's so that it's not just it's not super easy to replace these things. But yeah, we do expect to use CATL. We do expect to use LG. Currently, we're using Panasonic. When I say expect to use, I mean like literally a matter of months. So by the middle of this year, we probably be using both LG and CATL in volume.
Wow.
So we were talking about a lot of Tesla stuff, but we kind of wanted to ask you about your personal history, because you were saying how there's some misconceptions you would like to make straight. And Ashley Vance wrote a book about you. I just read May's lovely book, and it was really wonderful. I loved it and learned a little bit more history about your family and you. But what are some of the misconceptions that you would like to correct?
Most of this is just ended up being kind of water under the bridge that people didn't notice that much. I mean, there's this sort of some stories in there where it sounds like I fired people all of a sudden and arbitrarily, which was not the case. It just Ashley asked somebody who didn't know what was going on, and then that person was suddenly not there, and they didn't know why.
Yeah.
But I definitely do not fire talented people, unless there's no option. So
yeah.
And certainly not without warning. Or
I keep hearing you say "we." Like, it sounds like you're always thinking of everybody. I see you as a very selfless person in your endeavors.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, yeah. It's like from the age of 12, it sounds like you've been thinking about how to help humanity.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be sort of like some, the sort of savior or something like that, but it's really just that if it just seems like I don't know, seems like the obvious thing to do. I can't, like, I'm not sure why you do anything else. We want to maximize happiness of the population and propagate into the future as far as possible and understand the nature of reality. And from that, I think everything else follows.
I saw you on Twitter, talking about how, people are having this rumor that you've been wealthy your whole life, and that would be the only reason you became successful. And you've debunked that. And can you share more about your upbringing and what led you to going to North America when you?
Sure. I was in South Africa, and it seemed like wherever there was. A lot of the advanced technology in the world was being produced in America, and Silicon Valley especially. So I wanted to be where I could sort of have an impact on technology. So that's or be involved in the creation of new technology. So that's what prompted me to go to at first Canada, because I could get citizenship in Canada through my mom, and then ultimately to the U.S. But yeah, I just left South Africa when I was 17 and landed in Montreal. I had about $2,000 Canadian. And so I started staying in a youth hostel for a few days, and then there was this, you could buy a ticket to go across the country for $100 and stop along the way. And so I bought that. And just took a Greyhound across Canada, and saw all these little towns. Well, we were getting. I didn't have much. I had a backpack and a suitcase of books. But the bus company, Greyhound, they unloaded it in one of the cities, and then the bus left without my stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
So I literally had nothing.
All your books.
But your clothes too?
Actually, weirdly, I think I might have had the books thing, but not my clothes.
That was priorities.
All you needed.
Yeah, because I was just sitting in the bus station reading, waiting for the bus to get ready. Yeah. And I think I had the books, but no clothing.
Oh no!
So anyway, but I managed to get to Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and then it's your cousin's son, yeah, has a wheat farm there, and I worked on the wheat farm for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
So I turned 18 in Saskatchewan. It's in this town called Swift Current.
So that was summertime, right? It was June.
Yeah, June 28th.
So, because I've been there in the winter and it's like minus 40.
Yeah.
You don't want to be traveling.
Yeah.
Did you ice skate? Did you try ice skating?
No, it was quite warm.
Okay. Well, I mean, in the winter. Did you stay for the winter?
Were you there in the winter?
No, I was there for about 6 weeks.
Oh, you're lucky. You survived. That's good.
Yeah, so I was
It's cold there.
literally working on the wheat farm. We did a barn raising and I cleared out the wheat bins, the grain silos and that kind of thing. And I just worked the vegetable patch, basically just doing various things.
Was your mind just thinking of what you're going to do after that?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what I do next. Don't know what to do. So then I ended up getting back on the bus and went to Vancouver. And I had a half uncle there who was kind of in the lumber industry. He made lumber equipment.
Sounds like the Northwest.
Yeah, basically. So I ended up chainsawing logs and working on this lumber mill and cleaning out the where they boil the pulp in these crazy sort of boiler rooms.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that might be the hardest job I've had, actually, because you have to crawl through this little tunnel in a hazmat suit, and then with a shovel and then shovel this sort of steaming sand and mulch out of the boilers to clean them out.
Wow.
And you have to there was only one entrance or exit, which is this little tunnel. If you're claustrophobic, it would be real bad. And then you shovel the sand and the mulch through the tunnel, and it would actually block the tunnel, and then somebody else would reach in and shovel it out from the other side. So it's just long enough that if you have a shovel with a long handle, so one person on the inside can shovel it far enough that someone on the outside can shovel it out.
Wow.
And then you have to rotate every 15 minutes to avoid getting hypothermia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And there's no
intense.
safeties. There's just a man looking out for you.
There's just two people kind of paired up. So if one person collapses and you got to call somebody, but it'd be really hard to drag somebody out. I have to say that it's not team safe, because if the tunnel gets blocked, trying to unblock that tunnel would be very difficult in a short period of time. So, but it was the highest paying job at the employment office. So I was like, okay, the other jobs were $8 an hour, and this one was $18 an hour.
You had to buy your clothes, and they're all gone.
Well, they did give you a hazmat suit. So,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
How long did you do that job for?
4 days.
Oh, okay.
No, but it was done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You said it was like a short-term thing, cleaning grain bins, cleaning the
boilers.
the boiler rooms.
So what was next? We were in boiler rooms and then...
Yeah, so it's basically, I mean, literally it was like a lumberjack who's chainsawing logs and just doing lumber stuff, basically, for a few months there. And then applied for college and went to Queen's University in Kingston, and was there for a couple of years, and then somebody suggested I should apply to UPenn, and I didn't think I'd be able to go because I was paying for my own way through university, which is actually not that hard in Canada because the tuition
System.
the tuition's highly subsidized in Canada. So with basically some, if you sort of work during the summer and semester and take out some loans and get some scholarships, you can pretty much go to any college in Canada, I think. But I met someone who was at UPenn and they said you should at least apply, and I applied, and they actually gave me quite a big scholarship. So that allowed me to go there. and so then I did the physics and economics there, and then that's what led to the road trip to Stanford with Robin Wren, and then that was during that summer that I was like, okay, if I can either spend several years kind of doing a PhD not that I care about the PhD actually, but I just needed a lab. But I could either spend a bunch of years working in a lab, and maybe the technology would pan out, or maybe it wouldn't. But the internet was definitely about to go supernova in '95. So I was like, okay, look, I can always come back to working on electric cars, basically, and which of course I did. But the internet is not going to wait. So then I put Stanford on deferment and started Zip2, which was really just, we started off with maps and directions, Yellow Pages, White Pages, that kind of thing. And it was, best of my knowledge, the first maps and directions on the internet. So and there's still some patents I have. I don't have many more, but I think they've obviously lapsed at this point. But for maps and directions and Yellow Pages and advertising and stuff. And I wrote the whole initial code base. I wrote personally because there wasn't any Rails. It was just me. So, and I only had a few $1,000s. And then my brother joined, and he brought $5,000, which was a lot. Yeah, at least for the first few months, there was literally only one computer. So when the website wasn't working, it was because I was compiling code. and even to get an internet connection was pretty hard. But there was an internet service provider on the floor below us. And we more or less squatted in this office. The landlord was out of the country or something, and nobody was using it. So
you lived in there?
Yeah.
I think I read that in May's book you showered at the YMCA then, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's smart though. I mean, you were thrifty. You did what you had to do.
We just had no money, so what are we gonna do?
What did people think about Zip2 generally? Was it seen as a crazy idea, or did people even understand the internet back then?
Most people did not understand the internet. Most people didn't know. Even on Sand Hill Road, we tried pitching people to invest in an internet company. Most of the VCs we pitched to had never used the internet.
Do you remember some of the VC firms you went to on Sand Hill?
I remember most of the time we wouldn't take a meeting, and if they did take the meeting, they were pretty bored and not said who's made money in the internet? No one. We're no one. Okay. But the sea change occurred when Netscape went public.
Yeah.
So, but the first thing I tried to do was not start a company. I tried to get a job at Netscape, but they didn't reply to me.
Oh no!
Oh man!
So I tried hanging out in the lobby at Netscape. I don't know who to talk to. I was really too shy to talk to anyone. I don't know. So it's okay, I can't get a job at the only internet company that that does internet software. So then I'll try writing software. So that's kind of what happened there. Yeah, and then like I said, my brother came down and joined. This is late '95, and then in January '95, I think it was there was a lot more interest in the internet stuff following the Netscape IPO, and the software was more impressive, I guess. So then more David Dow invested. So they're VC firm on Sand Hill Road, and they invested, I think it was $3 million for effectively 60% of the company.
Wow.
Which we thought was crazy. They're well, they're going to give us the money for nothing? They must be mad. Yeah, so this seemed like crazy that they would give so much money for a company that consisted at the time of about 5 people. Like literally, I think 5 people at the time. So, but anyway, it worked out well for them in the end. So we hired a lot more people. We built out the service, and then we also ended up writing a bunch of software to bring the newspapers online. So Knight Ridder, New York Times Company, Hearst, all became investors and customers. And at one point, Zip2 was responsible for a significant section of the New York Times Company website. Yeah, so I got to know the media industry pretty well. And but over what really happened with Zip2 is it effectively got too much. There was too much control by the existing media companies. So they had too many board seats and too much voting control, and that they kept trying to push the company down directions that made no sense. So Zip2 actually had really good software. I'd say software that's comparable, in some ways more advanced than, say, a Yahoo or Excite at the time, but it was just not being used properly, and it was all being forced through media companies who would then not use it. So it's like, it's like, okay, we've got the best technology, but it's not being